Hello, Dr. Walker. Chapter 3, Recruitment. After planning, which I was, especially in the positions that I was in, always so much enjoyed because of all the hope and enthusiasm when you're able to hire new staff, in particular, lots of young staff, some just out of college, still have all the ideals and really fit the culture that we were trying to create at the school I was at. And then this year, hiring as well at the AEA has been interesting, a little more difficult in some ways. People need an explanation about exactly what the AA does sometimes. And then some of the qualifications are at a higher level, even though the salary and benefits are good and the self-determination is good, still difficult sometimes to recruit. So I've had that opportunity. Also, I was, in a small school and also at a college, for 16 years. Recruitment there of staff was interesting, and then being involved in the recruitment of the kids that I turned out because I probably had, three or 400 students who went into the teaching profession, and also those who were completing admin degrees and looking for positions. And so lots of that. And then finally, the last recruitment that you might be interested in is, I was a college coach for about 22 years. And so lots of recruiting there in a completely different way. But anyway, this recruitment chapter was very interesting to me in lots of ways. And I always like it when there are things that I have contextually in my mind, but people put them into a formal structure or outline. Really helps me to see it and shape it. And again, as I move into this position at Carroll, this will be extremely helpful. So first thing is, the restraints of, how you're able to go about recruiting, and those things that affect what we can do to go try to find quality candidates. And some of those: affirmative action, public image, the responsibilities of the position, the salaries and the benefits. And then, one that wasn't mentioned much, but sometimes the contractual obligations in the negotiated agreement, you may have to open up the position internally first for a number of days and give people a chance and then follow a specific process along the way. So all those restraints I understand, and the implications of who you might be able to get. And, I mentioned in the last video that there are people who believe that we have a difficult time finding quality recruits, quality staff members to come to Western Iowa. I got to tell you, I don't believe that. Maybe I'll become jaded over the years, but right now I think Carroll's an incredibly cool place, and we just hired a transportation director, an athletic director, and a middle school assistant principal. In each case, I found the depth of the recruiting pool and the quality of candidates for interview and candidates we hired to be extraordinary. Our AD, it came down to two positions, and one of those is actually the president of the athletic directors in Iowa. Was interested in being the athletic director at Carroll. He didn't win the position, but that kind of shows you the quality of candidates that we had. So, in any event, this was a great chapter. I like the vocational attributes of and putting those into an outline form, kind of linear, of how people might be attracted, and then what is necessary to finally get to that advertisement, and then also get to that process that brings in quality candidates and really attracts them to your location. Interest, ability, and personality were the first things listed. I understand that completely, and it's one thing that we don't necessarily always list in advertisements, especially interest, but might be in ancillary materials that we would have about the community and about the different possibilities for someone in trying to come to Carroll, for instance. Preferences in jobs, their competencies, and all those things, of course, and their self-image all change over periods of time. And so you hope, again, right time, right job, right person. You hope to be able to match all those things up and find the best institutional fit. Self-worth, I think, which really is Deming's TQM that was in the first chapter, that they understand that if they get in this position, they are going to be able to grow, their potential is going to be realized, and that they're going to have some self-determination in what they do. And that's hopefully the culture of the school that I hope to work in. That there's salary and benefits that match what they want for their quality of living, and that there is opportunity for growth. I incredibly love to hire those who are looking for the next step and the next level. Always, I always ask that question in an interview: where are you going to be in 2, 5, 10 years? And like to hear that they have some ambition. Sometimes the ambition is to remain in the position, just get better at it. That's fine. Sometimes the ambition is whatever the next level is in education, which usually is some kind of leadership position in education. And love to have those people on your staff. I think a couple of years ago, one just example, I had a half-time assistant principal position open up, and sorry about that. Right outside my window, kind of a loud truck went by. But I had a half-time assistant, and on my staff, where I was at, where I was previously located, I had 7 people internally, and who applied for the position. And it was great to have those people, but holy smokes, I didn't make any friends having to select one of those people. And there's still some residual discontentment even after I left after 2 years after I'd made that appointment. So I get that, but I think that's a good problem to have. I think it's wonderful to have people on your staff who really do have that ambition and have confidence in themselves that they can be leaders, and I think that they're leaders in your classroom as well. And then finally, that tension of personal goals with the personal development and professional goals that people have for themselves, what they like to see themselves as. And, that hopefully you can help them get to that place where they really feel comfortable, but I would say ambitiously content, that they are content with where they're at right now, but ambitious to try to continually get better. There's different methods for different vacancies. I understand that as well. In particular, I guess what came to mind from you when I was reading that was classified versus certified, and how you advertise for that, how you interview for that, all of those things, and in different positions. I had positions on both certified and classified staff that were very different, and so advertised differently, interviewed differently, and tried to find the right fit then, and so that you had good vetting and could be efficient in trying to capture it because generally we're competing against others as well. So you try to get to them as quickly as possible. You get out the math and the science positions as fast as you possibly can because those are in the tech positions, sometimes band directors and special ed positions. Those that we have a smaller population competing for those jobs, and it's more of a seller's, more of a seller's market in that case. Um, Most common way that you go about this, I think, and again, I haven't read the negotiated contract or the policy, particularly for Carroll yet, but the policies I've been familiar with is, internally, usually there's 5 business days for people to apply, and then you have to make a decision. Sometimes it's the politics of making sure you interview somebody who maybe deserves it, and then externally and looking for those candidates. I know also, the advertising is part of that. And nowadays, because of Teach Iowa and where I was at, the South Dakota School Board Association had, you bought into that. That's where everybody looked. They all looked on the internet. If you're doing nationwide searches, the same can be said that there are LinkedIn and, all of those particular types of platforms that you can now use, which makes it really easy to canvas, entire countries when you're looking for particulars. Too bad, because it used to be perusing the ads on Sunday morning and looking for a position, and still using those, I think is good, depending on who you're looking for. If you're looking for those who have tech savviness, maybe not the newspaper anymore or magazines. Maybe it has to be technical because you're hoping that's where they're going to try to find their next position. I've been to a lot of job fairs, and we actually held job fairs at the last position I was at because we did hire so many. I mentioned I'd hire between 15 and 20, and the other 7 schools would probably hire, man, maybe even another 30 to 35, and most of those were new positions because of our population increase each year. And you were at Waukee, so you understand that. So we had our own job fair every couple of years, and then we'd also go to the job fairs in South Dakota and Nebraska. Um, the procedures for formal advertisement, making sure that you're basically just asking for what you need, that major things in the job description, those major skills, and then the minimal qualifications, because every once in a while you do find somebody who might not have had all the background experience or advanced experience and degrees that maybe you're really hoping for, but they still might fit the job. So minimal qualifications, major job descriptions. In the advertisement, certainly the title, explaining what the district is like and what you're actually looking for, how to apply, and then those desired qualifications. I will tell you, we had a completely different program at the high school where I was at, and we hired in response to those particular character traits. And a lot of those had to do with personalized learning and really believing in individuals, and that was our culture. So a lot of the questions were focused on those, and the job description was focused on those and the qualifications. And if we could find somebody who had lived in that sort of a culture, they always moved to the very top of our list. And then, I think I mentioned to you in the previous in chapter 2, sometimes you're looking for those who can do extracurriculars, in particular in smaller schools. where you have a basic need, and those people should rise to the top of the list. I know that the school that I'm going to hasn't always been the case that all three administrators have looked out for each other, and so vetted the applications accordingly. But I will tell them that that really needs to be part of what they do. That if we, need a gymnastics coach, and that person is equal in all of the things in the classroom, then we really need to take a really hard look at them. So it's what we do, and you know that. But you and I both lived in school districts, you in Waukee and me in Harrisburg, where that was not a difficulty because we had so many applications that we were really able to vet them and find very quality candidates, even those who had additional abilities. I read a little bit about the brochure. I'm not sure that maybe is as topical as it used to be, especially again with all the platforms that are out there, and being able just to connect the Chamber of Commerce and whoever might do any of the other things that really advertise your community and all the abilities of the region. Those things are easily found on the internet. So creating your own brochure, I'm not quite sure that's necessary, but using the school report card and putting that together and maybe sending that off or handing that out at job fairs, I think that could be important. Really highlighting and marketing your school in particular. And if you have something unique, which I hope we will have at Carroll soon, that you market that so you are attracting the right candidates. Thanks again, Dr. Walker, or Mr. Walker, excuse me, not Dr. Walker yet, but Mr. Walker, thank you again, and appreciate it. And I'll upload this. I'll be sending you the second here in just a second. I see that it just got uploaded completely to YouTube, so I'll send you that link and then head on to chapter 4. Thanks again. It's been a great day. I'm learning a lot. Thank you.